Hey, thanks so much for watching my YouTube channel. Oh my goodness, I'm totally stoked. I get to have a special interview guest here today. His name is Jake Hamilton. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Super pumped. And I love the ink.
Thanks.
Fantastic. Bring that on. Yeah, what's that one say?
This is A Good Man Leaves an Inheritance for His Children's Children.
Yeah.
This is Mozambique, Africa. This is from Brazil. And my arms say Revival and Reformation. And I have a huge tattoo up here of my wife. And so,
Sweet. Yeah.
It's cool.
Totally dig it. My daughter got her first tattoo and it was interesting.
That's funny. I didn't get my, I always tell kids, because people like always watch me on stage, so they're like, oh, see, Jake has tattoos. And I'm like, yeah, I got my first one at 30.
Nice.
So if you want to use me as your excuse, you got to wait till 30.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I get that.
So.
That's totally good. That's totally good. So, Jake, what's your background? Where are you from?
I'm originally from just outside of LA, the edge of LA County, like in a city called Claremont. Grew up in the next city over, Rancho Cucamonga, which people don't believe is a real city, but it actually is a real city. And we planted a couple ministries there, and I've been in ministry for 21 years. So over 2 decades, I've been in full-time ministry.
Did you grow up in all this church gig or what?
No. My parents got saved when I was like in 3rd or 4th grade. But then, you're kind of like we went to a Baptist church. It was great. It was really, honestly, now I'm more grateful for it than ever. It set a really good foundation for me in a billion ways. They were sort of edgy for their time, and they were so Bible-based. It helped lay a good foundation for me when I really encountered the Spirit of God. And so I just disappeared through high school, and then right as I graduated, kind of came back, which is a very involved story, but it was basically kind of left everything and went and worked at a camp for inner city kids.
Yep.
And just bought my first guitar when I left at 18, and 2 weeks into camp, I was the new worship leader and haven't stopped since.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the craziest.
Yeah. So what happened with Holy Spirit? I mean, you grew up kind of a little bit of some of that more, so to speak, traditional.
Yeah. They were very edgy Baptists. So it was rock music, it was drums, and which doesn't sound, that's the hard part now. People are so used to what we have, but it actually wasn't that way for very long.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for me, it was they were rocking out, going for it in their version.
Yep.
And so when we planted a church by accident is really what happened. So the short version is we started a college ministry with a friend. A friend actually started it. We joined them. I became the worship leader. It grew from 60 to 700 in 4 months, and almost all new converts.
Wow.
And so there's a story in there about basically we did a Sunday service in the Baptist church, and we designed this scene where a little kid was sitting in front of this distorted TV that's broken and real eerie, looks like some horror movie or something. But then we play this song that's from in the 80s. It was called Dear God by a band called XTC. And the end of the song, this is you're doing this in church, it's Sunday service, there's 3 services or 5 services or something like that. There's 3,000 people that go to this Baptist church. And the song ends with, I won't believe in heaven or hell, no saints, no sinners, no devil as well, no pearly gates, no thorny crowns, you're always letting us humans down. And if there's one thing that I won't believe in, and then the little kid sings, it's you. And then it just ends. And we just leave it there for a minute. And then my buddy gets up and he says, the truth is, most of us feel this way. The world 100% feels this way. And until we're able to admit it, can we ever really get saved? And dude, people flooded the altar to get just fully saved. And so the next week, our college ministry was 300, and it was not college students anymore. And the Baptist church blessed us. We planted a church, and then got married, all stories in there. Then my daughter was diagnosed after she was born, 15 months in, she was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And so after serving the Lord for that many years and then having something super traumatic happen, and then 2 weeks later, we got a call because my wife was pregnant. We got a call from the doctor that our son was going to be born with Down syndrome. No. Yeah, and so all within a couple weeks. It was the wildest thing, and it was the Lord. Your world blows up. And the thing is I don't know how good sometimes we do it help. That's just normal life actually. That's actually real life. For most people, that's life. Sure. In a million different stories in a million different ways. But I was ill prepared for it. And we were ill prepared for it. But what it led us to My son wasn't born with Down syndrome, by the way. It was just like a false positive on a test. But but my wife was only 3 months in, so 6 months of waiting
Wow.
to see when he's born, then we'll know.
Yeah.
So the short version is I go basically, well, either God's big and he's awesome and bigger than I've been told, or he's really, really awful. And you can serve him your whole life and he's still going to let you down. And I need to know which direction I need to head. So that led me on basically my God journey. I mean, I've been working in a church for 8 years and I began my God journey, you know, to go, okay, like who are you in this place? That led me, so the first person you call is always the person who speaks in tongues. You know, like the weird person who you don't want to be.
job, like,
you're like, oh yeah, we just make you fringe for a while. And then it's like, you know, stuff blows up in your life and you're like,
hey, you got a
man,
second?
what are you doing? Maybe you could pray for me. And that's really the way it ended up, as we ended up that, and that led us on a journey into starting a house of prayer. We did a 24-hour house of prayer for several years, and that's where we wrote all these songs, and those songs ended up with Jesus Culture and then traveled the planet.
Wow.
So it's a crazy thing. Meeting the Spirit in the midst of like pain gave me really great context, because I don't just run into things and assume that it's going to happen the way that I think it's going to happen.
Right.
It gives me really good context, and because I grew up in a Baptist church, not only do I have personal experience, I have like pretty decent theology and understand the Bible. So I don't just throw everything out and try to, you know what I mean, pretend it's all God. You know? Or pretend the bad stuff isn't God.
Right.
So for me, I feel like when we entered this thing, we entered in such a context we could explore all of it. Like we had really great permission from God to walk with people through their stuff.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask something that's a little bit like kind of rogue here.
Do it.
So, dumb question, so please don't be insulted by it. You write songs?
I do. Yeah. So I wrote the first 2 albums we did with Jesus Culture was they were all written in the prayer house.
So here's my question to you, and the reason I'm asking this is like
please.
super real time. I'm writing a book called Conversations with God.
Come on.
And part of the thing I'm doing at the end of every chapter, I do something called Conversation Starter.
Nice.
Right? So how do you start this?
We do something called read the word, pray the word, sing the word. We've been doing it literally since 2006 now. And we're doing it at the church we're at now called The Stirring, and it works really well because what we do is we use the word as a springboard into hearing the word, because the word is the unmovable part. So when we just go through the Psalms and we use one phrase from the Psalms and we begin to sing it, we use his language to find our language. And so that's kind of what I've been doing for years. Since we've been in the house of prayer. And all my songs, I could probably point to all the verses they came from. You know, because they came out of those times.
So big biblical underpinnings. But do you find sometimes in the creativity, you find there's conversation with God in that creative?
Oh, 100%. Because really, once you have the springboard, once you jump off the edge into eternity, and you're like, okay, we're out here into deep water, and we actually let it go. Like most people stop it when it doesn't make sense. So that's where it's like, well, you know, I don't know if that's biblical. I don't know if it's this. I don't know, is this allowed? When I'm not saying we should preach everything or sing everything, but I am saying it's actually really beautiful to follow those trains of thought and just see where they lead you. You know what I mean? That creative conversation with the Lord that allows you to just go, I'm going to ask questions I would never ask and process things I would never process and see where you end up, you know? And again, I'm not saying to preach it or sing everything. I'm just saying when you explore relationships, sometimes you ask dumb questions. And you get like when I'm with my wife, we've been married for 17 years. It's like, we're still finding stuff out about each other, and usually the best stuff we find is when we ask dumb questions. You know?
And the creativity, it kind of, there's a little bit of a depth charge, because stuff floats to the top. You're like, whoa, never knew that. That's pretty amazing. And then you learn stuff about kind of how you're wired up too. Go on that discovery. So how old are your kids now?
They are 13, 11, or sorry, I have a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, and an 11-year-old. So girl, boy, boy. So,
girl, boy, boy.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah,
mine are 18, 17, and 16.
Oh, come on. We're just behind you a little bit.
Girl, boy, boy.
Yeah, that's it.
Hang on for the ride.
I know. My little man is 13. He's at camp right now, and so he's like entering the journey to manhood, you know, and I'm excited for him.
Yeah, that's cool.
Know, so.
Last question. What is the thing you most love about Holy Spirit?
Comforter. I'm not like I love the duality of he is both my convictor and my comforter. I love that Jesus doesn't just say, and I'm going to release Holy Spirit so that you can all heal the sick and raise the dead. He said, I'm going to send you someone. He's going to lead you into all truth, and here's how he's going to do it. He's going to convict you, and he's going to comfort you. So he's probably going to punch you in the stomach, but hold you through the pain, you know? And I love the idea that he's going to show me the parts of myself that I don't want to see, but I want to see them. I'm constantly praying, like, Lord, judge me now, don't judge me later. Like, I don't want to wait to find these things out when I'm standing before him.
Right.
You know, and I don't want to be so arrogant to think I don't have anything to learn. Like, I have a ton to learn. I mean, I am flawed and human. So, Holy Spirit, please come and convict me.
Yeah.
Like, and then just hold me through it. Because I don't necessarily need all the answers, but I do want to feel you're close.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So that wasn't really the last question. I was just practicing.
Yeah, I'm
this
good.
This is maybe my last
It's
question.
okay. We can do 15 more.
Last question. So,
talk McBee.
What's your biggest challenge in parenting?
Oh, we have a daughter with special needs. So any person who has a child with special needs, they know that it's, we had a counselor tell us at one time, it's almost easier to lose a child once, because then you suffer one loss. But with a child with special needs, you'll suffer losses of every version of that child as they grow older. Every spot they should have met along the way, you have to die again, because that daughter doesn't exist, or that version of your child doesn't exist. And so for us, that has been the biggest awakening for us, of having someone who needs us so much, you know. And I mean, I suck at it half the time, but I love her insanely, you know. And so us figuring out and fumbling, because how do you, I guess, I mean, I had this encounter with the Lord one time where we were at her school, and you know, all these kids are sharing their stories of after high school, and they have special needs, and they're sharing their stories. And we didn't know what really was happening with her at the time. We just knew parts. And I'm sitting in this meeting, and the Lord speaks to me, and he says, you're all handicapped, they just can't hide theirs. And he said, just because your handicapped is internal doesn't mean that you're less handicapped than them. And all of a sudden he said, but your daughter, because she can't hide hers, she'll be 10 times stronger than you always. And because when she gets out of bed in the morning, her legs don't work. She has to choose to crawl out of bed, choose to crawl into the wheelchair, choose to. Where I get to fumble through it, and I get to hide all my stuff. And I think the awakening for me, and the hardest thing in parenting, is the way that your kids reveal your greatest weaknesses. And it's like, I just feel like, and it's hard, because sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to be angry at that. I don't want to be annoyed by that. I don't want to be hurt by that. I don't, you know what I mean? We want to do right by our kids. And I want to give them something better than I was given. Not that my parents weren't awesome, but it's like that reality of going, man, you're probably a greater teacher to me than I am to you in a lot of ways, if I'll submit myself to it.
You know? Humility of it, right?
Yeah. And so I think that's the hardest part about parenting, is recognizing you have so much to learn, you know, instead of thinking that you're always the teacher.
Right.
Oh, I got to show you this. Instead of going, how would you do this? Like, where would you go with this? You know, like, I'm doing a business right now with a buddy of mine, and my kid was like super into this, and I was trying to figure out how to do this piece and this thing, and I'm like, and it's all art based. I'm trying to figure out these videos, and I'm making it super complicated because I'm an adult. And he's watching this YouTube video and goes, Dad, check out this YouTube. This is my new favorite YouTube channel. You know, we give him very little time. It's very supervised, because it's like, that place can be scary. So it's like, whatever. So he's in the room and he's watching this, like, it's stupidly animated. And I was like, that's how I should do that. But he already fell in love with it. And then I was like, no, that's how I should be doing what I'm making complicated over here. So it was just even this last week where I'm like, you're still teaching me. Like, oh, help me stay humble and teachable, Lord. Like, I want to learn from my kids as they learn from me, you know?
So rich, so true. Thank you.
Of course.
Totally like hanging out with you.
It was fun. Thank you for having me.
And thanks for coming to our church, to worship. Thoroughly pumped.
Denver is amazing. I love it here. So many friends.
Mile high, baby.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right.
So thanks for watching. Just encourage you to give me some feedback. That'd be fantastic. Thumbs up, thumbs down, little comments. Love to have you subscribe. Hello,
Yes,
hello, hello.
subscribe.
That'd be
Duh.
awesome. That's
Hit
automatic.
the subscribe button.
Totally,
Smash
it's
that
right
thing.
there. So, and of course, stupid, cheesy joke. Why couldn't the leopard escape from the zoo? Because he's always spotted. I know, they keep getting better all the time. Not really. All right, thanks again. Catch you next week.